Okay, so I started recording.
This conference will now be recorded.
Perfect. So hello once again, welcome on today's presentation. This is a sales training for Safetica and how Safetica works inside the ESET portfolio of product as a member of Technology Alliance. So we'll start with the agenda. So we'll take a look on the DLP threat landscape. We'll talk about why Safetica. We will take a look on the target market and how our customers look like. And the most important part is actually how to sell our products to the customers. If there will be any topic you would like to discuss more than this, I'm more than happy to talk about it. And also, I would like to hear your experiences and then your approach on your market, how it works and what maybe doesn't work, and what we can improve together to be more successful. So let's move on. So DLP threat landscape, it's quite a big market now, which is growing. Sometimes it's a DLP market is sometimes compared to antivirus market like maybe 10 years ago. So there's a huge potential, and it has more, let's say, reasons why it looks like this, because there's a lot of new regulations upcoming or are already on place, like the GDPR for European market. We have update for Data Privacy Act, for example, in Australia, and there are new local regulations and legislations upcoming. For example, in California, there's going to be a new data privacy law. So these are the most important, let's say, motivators or topics that the customers hear about, and so they really started to be interested in having DLP on place. And if we take a look on the numbers, there are some certain companies that are able to provide some numbers to the market, like what is the usual cost for data breach. Like if the one, for example, customer record or patient record is stolen, how much does it cost to the company? Also, we have fines, and we have the tools that the government uses usually to punish the company in case of data breach. So basically, if we talk to the customer, we are trying to show him some numbers and statistics that this is already happening on the market, and this is how the damage looks like for the company. So they can be seriously harmed by data leaks, so they lose money, they can lose reputation. And if we take a look on some recent data breaches, which is also something we usually present to the customer, what happened is that we have these big names. Recently, it was Tesla with a huge data leak or data breach. There was Facebook with the Cambridge Analytica. So the customer can see the picture and can imagine what is usually happening, how this happens. We have Edward Snowden on this picture, which is, I think, the most famous person who did it ever in the world. And but for sure, you can use your own cases that you have in Bulgaria or in your country. Like we use our, for example, here in Czech Republic, we use, for example, T-Mobile, which is a company which is, I think they're one of the top three biggest telecommunication companies in our country. And in 2016, there was a guy working on their IT department, and they actually stolen and sold 1.2 million records about the T-Mobile customers, and he sold it for like $5,000 to a marketing company. So it was huge, and it was local, so all the local customers knew about that. So my hint here, or a recommendation, is if you have something like this on the media, just use that example that you have, and it's a nice way how to explain to the customer what is it all about and what is the risk, what is the problem that's happening. usually there's some news in the media that this happened, and what was the consequence, or what were the consequences of this let's say this breach. So that means that it's usually in the media that they get a fine of a couple, I don't know, 100,000 euros, and it's a big problem for the company. But we are not dealing only with these big players, with these big brands and known companies. We all have even way smaller companies, like small doctor's offices or law firms, or small manufacturing companies with just dozens of users. So we have these examples as well, and I know that you already have some quite nice customers, so you can use their story. But what we want to explain is that it's not only about these big companies, but it can happen to anybody. So basically, if we have, for example, insurance company, if somebody would, download the database of their clients or something like that, it can be really serious problem that can harm the company, not only because of the regulation, but he can, for example, the person can sell the data, and it's a big problem. So no matter if it's small company or big company, everybody should be concerned about the data breach. So once the customer is aware of what's happening and what is the case, they maybe start to ask, like, how would somebody steal my data, or how would they transfer the data out of my company? So still, what we can see is that maybe more than 80% of these incidents are happening through USB flash drive or some external storage, like external disk or some, even maybe the cell phone. And this is what typically usually users do, or let's say insiders use to transfer the data. Also, what we can see is that there's a growing number of users that are using Dropbox or any other type of this kind of cloud storage or web file sharing websites. And this is not only the problem of that somebody would intentionally want to steal the data from the company, but we see with a lot of companies, with a lot of regular customers, that they have no security policies. They have no rules how the users should behave. So for example, we've seen many cases when the user actually just wanted to share the company, let's say, information or product documentation, or some information about their know-how or their customers, and he didn't know that he should behave like safely or securely. So basically the person just shared the data on a public website, and anybody could approach this. So for example, we have a customer in a military industry, and they just wanted to share some technical information about the combat vehicle. They had a service agreement with the army, and somebody just shared it publicly on the website because he wanted to talk some engineer about some details. But the problem was, it was really sensitive, and anybody who could find it could approach this data. So it was a big problem, and in this case we had to implement Safetica on like 120 or maybe 200 endpoints in couple days, and we made it. And we also contacted the owner of the website to delete the files from there. So sometimes it's not that somebody would intentionally do it to harm the company or make money on the data. It's sometimes just a mistake or just a missing security policy in the company. So this is very important, and it's most of the cases. So that's why I'm mentioning this here. Also, it happens quite often that somebody sends an email and then he realizes that he sent it to a wrong person. So this is also a way how somebody can lose the sensitive data or send it to a wrong person or even a competitor. and this is very, very important to know, and it's also usually by mistake. What is not usually a mistake is that the users are using applications like Skype, or I mean that not that much of ICQ anymore, but Skype and these kind of instant messengers to transfer the data as well. So basically we recommend customers, okay, if you use, for example, Skype for business purposes, you can use it, but just make sure with Safetica that nobody will share the sensitive data on there, because you can share it with anybody. So this is also, and we have many more like Bluetooth and stuff like that. So these are the ways how user can transfer the data from the endpoint. And why would they do that? So we are here, it's our experience that most of the users are doing just mistakes, but if somebody do it intentionally, he wants to use the data for some purpose, we've seen many cases that people started a new company based on the stolen know-how. And if there's a couple employees and they decide to leave the company together and start a new company, and I've seen many cases in person with my customers, they usually take the company know-how, how they produce the products, or where they buy from suppliers and stuff, and they will also steal a customer database, and suddenly the company has a competitor in 2 years that has the same turnover as the original company, with no major investment in innovations and so, and they are selling to the same customers for lower price. So this is what I saw, and it was, for some time it was quite common here also that these things happen. So it's quite a common practice, let's say. It's terrible, but it's like that. Also, we've seen some cases where a person from the company actually sold the data to a competitor. I remember it was a couple of years ago, and I had a meeting with a company that's producing like lightning products, lights. I mean, yeah. And I spoke to the owner of the company, and he told me, like, there's a lady living in the city, and she used to work for us. Now she works for our competitor that's in a totally different city, and she's not going there, she's just still staying in this city, and she's probably in touch with our employees, and she's getting the information. So usually this can happen, and or sometimes this is happening, that people sell the data to a competitor. So this is what we show to the customer, like what are the cases, and one of the most common is that people just take the data away from the company when they're applying for a new job. So the person actually, like, if I would do that, and I wouldn't, never, but if I would be that person, maybe I would say, okay, so I'm leaving the company, and I will be applying for a new job. So how about having some data as an advantage for an interview? So I would offer to a new employer my data from my previous employer, because usually people, when they change job, they stay in this, let's say, more or less the same industry, and just work for another company. So this is quite common. I've seen that with, for example, one of my customers, it's a BMW car dealership, and the owner told me that he was visited by a salesman from the competitive brand. I'm not sure if it was Audi or Volkswagen, but it doesn't matter. So he was visited by this guy, and he told him, would you hire me? I have a CD here with 20,000 customer records here, and I can offer it to you. So logically he said, no, I'm not going to employ you, because you would do the same to me in some time. But it's a nice example that this is happening, and people think that it's an advantage having the data. So there are other ways how to capitalize on stolen data in the future. And sometimes what happens is that somebody really intentionally wants to harm the company or people that work there, for example, by exposing publicly the salary of all the people in the company. So also they usually sometimes they presume that data is theirs. So like, I worked on it, it's mine. So basically, no, it's not, you know, because somebody paid the person for the job. So they sometimes they think that data is theirs. And let's say the statistics we have now is that 80% of the companies already had or already faced a data leak or data breach. And if we take a look on these examples, it's maybe more than 50% of the people, when they're leaving their current job, they are taking their data away. So this is what's really happening, and there's a solution, right? So why Safetica? I intentionally decided to use this presentation because we have your portfolio, your ESET products that you have, that you can offer to the customer. But this is the purpose of our partnership of the Technology Alliance Cooperation, is that ESET was missing this data loss prevention or data leak prevention in the portfolio, and it's a very good fit for your customers, and it's also great cooperation for us. So that's why we are kind of part of the product portfolio now. And sometimes the customers want to know, because we are not ESA, we are Safetica, we're an independent company, so they want to know about our company and why did maybe ESA choose Safetica to be a member of Technology Alliance. So just about our company, we were founded in 2008. Our headquarters is in Prague, Czech Republic. For now, we have about 70 people in the company and customers in more than 55 countries. We are also Gartner recognized. This is a typical question from enterprise customers, because Safetica is not part of the Magic Quadrant, but usually partners from ESET, they are okay with this because ESET is there. So they just say, okay, but ESET trusts Safetica. So this is how they overcome this question. We also have our own Safetica operations in the United States since 2016, and we have some more global partnerships, and also work with more integrations to be more customers environment friendly. So also maybe one of the reasons was that we are pretty close to ESET headquarters in Bratislava. So this is just briefly about the company. So now back to the solution, because we are here to rescue, to save the companies from what we just presented. And here we just basically present to the customer what we do, or what Safetica does. So the first point is mitigates risks of financial loss caused by human factor, as industrial espionage, human failure, lost or stolen laptop or external drive. What is the word or mitigates, or why is it here? Because we cannot say, or we cannot claim that Safetica can solve 100% of cases, or that we are something like insurance, that we would be 100% solution for everything. But mitigation means that we are helping to decrease the amount of incidents, and we are helping to lower all the risks in the company caused by human failure or human error or human factor. What is important, that as we spoke about how the person would steal the data from the company, so we cover all the standard channels like email, external storage, copy paste, upload, print, mobile devices, screenshots, and everything. And also, what is the advantage is that we analyze the user's behavior, so it makes the incidents predictable, and the company knows how to focus, or whom to focus on to prevent data leaks and or data breach attempts. And it also helps, as you all know, it also helps the company with improving the productivity of the users. So this is just a graphic to explain or to show the customer that we have all these channels here and we can cover them with Safetica. And how it actually works, this is maybe for some customers not that important, but they just ask, you know, how it works. So basically we are endpoint solution. So we have Safetica endpoint client installed on the device or the computer. Then there's the Safetica management service and SQL database, and we have Safetica management console to administer all the features, and also we can support multiple branches, multiple locations of the client's environment. And as you all know, we have Web Safetica, which is a tool for managers that they can just take a look and they can see all the data from their environment about their company, how the users work, what kind of incidents are happening, or what kind of attempts are happening in the company, so they have a perfect overview. Usually, if I get back, the customers can ask, you know, and how it works regarding the implementation. What is the process? How we can install it in the company and stuff like that. So basically, the installation is pretty simple, and there's nothing complicated about this, but there must be some amount of work or some amount of thinking on the customer side, which means that they need to think about their internal, let's say, processes and what is the most important data for them, or the most sensitive. If it's let's say employees information or a customer database or their product know-how or something else. But usually customer, you know, they can maybe get scared it's going to be too complicated, but we say, all right, let's start with 3 types of data or maybe 5, and we will start to protect them from the start, and then we can continue with more detailed settings and more detailed policies. But let's start with these basic things that we can use a common sense just to think about how your business works, and we start with this. And it's okay for, let's say, 99% of the customers. So what is the target audience? Safetica focus is on SMB or small enterprises with 50 to 1,000 plus endpoints. But this is our, let's say, sweet spot. So this is something we really can, let's say, achieve easily. We can sell to these customers, no problem. But we also have small customers of 5, 10 licenses, which is usually, let's say, small doctor's office, accounting company, stuff like that. And we also have a bigger companies, as we presented on ESET World, that our biggest customer is about 40,000 endpoints. So this is something, we have no limits, but this type of customers is something we really like to work with, from 50 to a couple thousands of endpoints. This is something what we like. And also we think that the best way how to sell our solution is to talk with the right people, and in between these or with this pool of customers, we are able to reach the decision-making person, which is usually CEO or financial director or IT director. Okay, I had a question here about Linux. So basically we don't support Linux platform for now, and I'm actually not aware of our plans for the future. But for example, if there are Linux servers, we can map them, and if there's any data going from there, we can tag them, or we can protect them on the station. So yes, maybe it was connected to the point 3, which is that we are designed for Windows-based environment, adding some features for Mac OS this year, I think in next quarter. So this is about the target audience, and yeah, yeah, thanks, Svetoslav. Maybe I mentioned some examples of the customers. So there are sometimes questions from partners like, is there any specific industry that we should focus on? And let's say we say no, because all of the companies or government organizations have the some kind of sensitive data they want to keep inside the company, or keep maybe sometimes keep undercover. So, but what we know is that we are stronger in some industries. So for example, here in Czech Republic or in Europe, it's a lot of manufacturing companies that we work with. We have pharmaceutical companies, hospitals, but for example, in the United States, we are more successful in the banking segment because they are regulated by PCI DSS regulation, and we are helping to protect the credit card numbers and stuff like that. So it's basically we are not focusing on specific industry, but for some reason there's a stronger demand in some kind of, let's say, some kind of industries. And also as with everything, we are selling a lot to the government, no matter if it's local government like cities or Ministry of Defense in some countries. It doesn't matter. We just sell there because they need the solution. But the situation is different as it was years ago. So there's a now growing number of competitors entering the DLP market, and as with everything, they have their strengths and weaknesses, the same as we do, or we have. So basically, what is the advantage of Safetica? My first point, anytime somebody asks, I say it's simple. You know, it covers all the scenarios, but on the other hand, it's simple. It's something that you can manage, you can install or implement in a couple of days, and you can manage pretty easily. It's not complicated. You don't need to read hundreds of pages of documentation, and it's really easy to manage. And actually, when we show the console to people, they really like it. They love the concept. They like how it looks like, how let's say intuitive is to work with it. And but also we see that there's still a lot of potential for improvements. So we're actually working on this. But the word easy is something that comes first to my mind. Also, Safetica works on existing infrastructure, which means that there are no additional costs on the customer side that he would need to pay. For example, if if we compare with Symantec needs an Oracle database to run their DLP. So it's a huge investment on the customer side to pay for this database. And with Safetica, there are no additional costs. They just pay for the license, the same like with endpoint protection or with antivirus. So they just basically don't need to think about any additional costs regarding the purchase of the Safetica. And so we work on existing infrastructure. Also, we are independent, which is not that common with other solutions, for example, like McAfee. So we basically protect any type of data or data format, or we can, let's say, restrict and manage or apply the rules of or on any application that's running in the customer's environment. Or maybe the better word is to integrate with any application, so we can tell the application if it can touch the sensitive data or not, which makes the DLP rules quite easy. Also, we are pretty strong with our own protection. So Safetica is very hard, let's say hard to kill, if I can use this Steven Seagal movie name. So Safetica is hard to kill, and we have a strong protection of our own processes. Well, maybe before I continue, do you have any more questions after this part?
I have a question here about this management console.
Yes.
Actually, the question was coming from our one of our resellers. They were asking if you're in your roadmap for future improvements to get this console in some cloud environment. I mean, if they can install the endpoints and the agents, but they don't want to manage and to install anything on their infrastructure.
Yeah.
If it's possible to be managed from Microsoft Azure or from AWS or something like that.
Thank you for the question, and I'm happy to have this question here, because this is something we are working on. It's like that we have the Web Safetica, which is the cloud console for managers to have an overview about their company. And the plan is that we are going to switch all the features into the web console. So the partner can manage from anywhere and can have, let's say, he can have the console installed in his environment, and he can manage the customer endpoints and the DLP rules and the policies from there. So we already have some partners that were able to to make a mix or better to install this in their environment, and they have the regular console on their, let's say, in their environment, and they just have the clients installed in the customer's environment, and also the database, and the service is running on his servers. Okay, another question, if it's possible. Actually, we are now already supporting like multi-domain, or we have like multi-domain support, but it's not still as easy as we would have like multi-tenancy console. There are some limitations, and but on the other hand, there are some possibilities, and I have this written down because we had the same question from New Zealand, which is the country that is really pushing us to provide a solution for MSPs, and I will send it to you after this webinar, so you can take a look if these options that we offered to them would be also something that your resellers can work with. So it's gonna be after the call, but just I would be happy to see your feedback on this, and if this would be something you can work with. So back to the presentation, we have some key advantages here. Okay, so in first place, we provide a full suite DLP solution, and we already discussed this, that we cover everything that's possible. What is important is short time to benefit, which means if we install Safetica in customer's environment, we started to monitor, we start to collect the data, what's happening, and we are able to present some results in a couple of days. Ideally, it's maybe takes 2-4 weeks to show the customer what's really going on in his environment, but it's still, compared to solutions like, for example, ForcePoint, it's still, let's say, something like a wonder or a miracle, because what I had the feedback from some resellers in England, they told me, like, we used to sell ForcePoint, but the implementation takes 6 months to achieve some results, and with Safetica we were able to do it in 2 weeks, which is really short time to benefit, let's say, and I think this is a big advantage. So We have some more here, but I think that these are quite something that you can utilize. But I think that the key advantage, which is not even written here, is that we provide the context of all what's happening. So if we take a look on some other solutions, they usually don't have any monitoring, or they don't know what the users are actually doing. Maybe they know how they transfer the data, but they have no context on what's happening around it. So with Safetica, you see that the person that's trying to copy the data somewhere, or trying to plug in some USB drive that is unauthorized and stuff, is actually during the working hours, or maybe somewhere else, looking for a job, or is communicating with a competitor, or is doing something that's pretty weird. And this is very important for managers to know, that they have this context, and they can react, and they have all the necessary information, not only about the incident with the data, but about what is happening, uh, or what the user is actually, this bad user is actually doing. So this is, I think, one of the most important key advantages of Safetica. So how to sell? I mean, we already have, or you already have your Safetica customers. I mean, there was one recent that had like 260 endpoints. So maybe I would ask you, what is your experience, maybe in general, or if you have the visibility on the use case, like why the customer bought it, what was their story, or is this something that the resellers share with you? Do you have this knowledge, or not? Svetoslav? Sorry, I can hear you. It seems like we're facing some audio issues, so maybe you can just write it down to a chat window.
So I have some.
Now it works.
I have with my microphone, so I will use Svetoslav. We made several webinars, technical webinars, with our resellers demo. They organize their end customers, and after that we give them some trials. They test the solutions, and after that bought it. That's our.
Great. And I mean, if you have any feedback from these customers, like, hey, we just saw how the console looks like and we like it, or we had problems that we need to solve with Safetica. So do you have like information like this?
I don't have such a kind of information. Only that I know the customer is very happy with Safetica and don't have some problem with it.
Okay, that's also also great to hear. So we can work on this in the future. So because it's always best to share your own experience that you have with your customers. So maybe I hope that in the future your resellers will share the information, like why is the customer happy, what was the reason to buy Safetica, and this can help to then to present these cases to another customers or partners to spread the awareness, and case study that works works all the time.
I told to our reseller that we want to have some kind of case studies, and we will arrange it maybe after 3 months or something like that.
Perfect.
But sometimes. Okay.
Great. So let's get back to the presentation, and we have some typical questions. I have some more questions that are not written here, but we can use them. So basically, if we talk to the customer, and it's something that we should tell, or you should tell your resellers, is because when they sell Safetica, or they present Safetica to only IT managers, I mean, it makes no sense to present Safetica to administrator because it's extra work for him. So they just don't, you know, don't react positively. But IT manager sometimes has some plans with their security, and this can be a part of this plan. And sometimes they don't, and it's like 50% of the IT managers are people that make sense to talk to them regarding the business, or let's say selling the product, and 50 of them are people that are not actually going to let you through, or not going to pass the information to the management and stuff. So that's why we basically recommend to approach the top management of the company, because it's not about software, or it's not about technology. It's about the topic is about protecting their business, to protecting their critical data, and to protecting their company. So this question I have here on this slide, it's I mean, it's quite offensive question to have like a first question on the meeting. So we basically start with asking the customer, you know, how's the situation, how's your business, uh, uh, you know, what are your plans for the future, what is your business goal, and they start to talk, and then we ask, you know, and what do you think? Is there a risk, or is there a, or do you feel that there can be a situation where somebody would be, yeah, thanks Svetoslav for the comment. So we asked them, like, would it be a problem if somebody would get your data, or are you aware of this is what's happening on the market? You have the data breaches, and or even the simple question like, have you ever sent an email that was meant to be received by somebody else, or you received an email that somebody sent you, and it was a mistake? So, and then they start to talk, and sometimes they just, you know, open themselves, and they say, you know what happened to us, it's been like 2 years, I think, and we had one person here, and the person left the company with the data, and it was a big problem and stuff. So basically the goal is to open the customer, that so he starts to talk about their experience, or if they're concerned, or if they are aware of, if they're, let's say, not scared, but if they feel or think that it can damage actually their company. And if they say yes, we are halfway to win. And so then we basically, if Svetoslav wrote me that you basically talk to CFO, for example, so we start to talk about their responsibility in this process, and like how much money would it cost if somebody would steal your customer database and sold them competitive product. And they say, we don't know, we never had this calculation, but we think it can be millions of euros, for example. So they start to realize that it can be a serious problem for their company, and then we start to talk about, and what would you think if there would be a solution for this? And we are not saying Safetica, or we are not saying DLP. We just ask the person, how would you approach this problem, or how would you start to, or how would you plan the prevention? How would you try to avoid such a situation? And this is the like consulting part maybe of the business meeting, where you're trying to find a solution together. And after that, we can say, okay, we have something that obviously can meet your goals. It can protect your company, And also, as we discussed before, it seems like it's like in a harmony, let's say, with your thoughts on this. Like, as you said, you want to protect the data, that it would work like this and that. So we actually have in our portfolio of products something that really meets your expectations on this topic. Okay. Also, we can ask about some, let's say, particular or concrete topics, and we can also discuss their sensitive data. Because, for example, I have a customer that's a pharmaceutical company, and before we started a demo, because there were some technical problems with projector or something, I was sitting right next to the owner of the company, and while my colleague was trying to start the demo with some technical problems, he asked me, what is it going to about? And I said, he's a doctor. So I was like, okay, doctor, we are a company that helps to protect the data to other companies, sensitive data. Because all the companies now have antivirus, firewall, and everything, so they are protected from the outside. But how are you protected from the inside? And he was like, you tell me. And I was like, I don't know, but probably it's not going to be much, you did for it. And I was like, yeah. So I was like, please, doctor, tell me how your company works and what is maybe the most sensitive data for you. And he told me, we are developing, we have research and development of new medical products. And before we register them in a governmental organization that's dedicated, or that's here to register these new medical products, it's on the registering department. So the product is ready, but it's not certified yet. So once somebody would get the data, because it's everything about the product, how to make it, or how to make it, how to produce it, everything, and would sell it to the competitor, he can produce the same thing and he can even register before us. So we would lose a lot of money because we invested in research and development, in innovations, and we invested a lot, and we would not only lose this investment, but we would also lose the potential to sell it because it would be registered by somebody else. And I said, and that's how it works with Safetica, that we will implement it and we will protect the data during the whole process, so nobody can get this sensitive data from your company. And I was like, okay, I'm going to buy it. And it was like 5 minutes, and then we started the demo and we were showing him the graphs and how great the product looks like and stuff. But basically it was just, I just asked him what is the most sensitive data and what he would appreciate to have in the company, and it actually works. So I think let's say in general the most important thing is to find the motivation for the particular client. If it's insurance company, let's say we can talk about the client's database, because they have a lot of sensitive data about the client's, let's say, income and their health conditions and stuff like that. So we can tell them that with Safetica you know everything, what happens, and you can protect this kind of sensitive data. So because solving the customer's problem is the best way how to sell anything. Right? Okay, and sometimes customers think that it must be complicated. Oh, okay, it's going to be so complicated, I'm afraid of that, and I'm not sure if I want the solution if it would be so complicated. So we say actually it's pretty easy, but instead of talking, we can show you how it works and how easily you can achieve the complete data protection. And basically, if the customer is concerned about anything, we say, okay, so just give us some time. We will install it here. We will show you how it works. And not only this, we will also show you what's happening in your company, where is your sensitive data, and who works with the sensitive data and how. And they usually say, okay, I want to see that. and that's where we start with the proof of concept. And from our experience, if we do the proof of concept, usually 20-30 users for 2-4 weeks, and then we create an analysis that I will send you. I think you have it, but just for sure I will send it to you after the webinar. When we show their data from their company, we have a statistics that 60% of customers, they buy Safetica straight away. When they see the data, they say, okay, I need this because I didn't know before, and what I see is terrible, and I need to do something about that.